This branch bears three clusters of grapes: Jew, Muslim, and Christian. From each country send one of its leaders to visit me, so we can determine its place in the Holy Land. Countries that refuse to send a representative, as commanded, may lose their part of the kingdom of Christ. We are drawing territorial boundaries. Did the government blow up Oklahoma? You will know that the Lord has sent me to you, and that this is not my idea. If the people of the earth open their mouth and something totally new happens. If all that were going down to hell became alive, and they and everything that belongs to them becomes the Lord. If this happens, and all that still treat the Lord with contempt perish. If the earth splits apart into two kingdoms, and one becomes heavenly and the other is swallowed up and turns to dust, and the whole world is fleeing from being swallowed up by the flood and fire of God's wrath. If this is the wrath of the Lord, and the plague has started, then you will know that the Lord has sent me. The plague is famine, and the ugly and painful sores from the fire of God's anger. These are on those that have the mark of the beast and worship his image. To worship the beast is to want to keep the things the way they are. And to worship God is to want to change things to what he wants. This kingdom is built out of the pure gold of truth. Pure gold of truth is found only in Scripture. It is not mixed with anything or any worldly opinions or ideas. If things continue as they always have, then you can say that the Lord has not sent me. All those that treat the Lord with contempt will be gone from the kingdom. When you hear the cries of those that are perishing, you better cry out to God and start praying, because even you are one of God's people. You will still be destroyed if you are grumbling and praying for this to stop, instead of praying for God's will to be fulfilled. You need to separate yourself from the evil and sin of the world, because God is going to put an end to it at once. Christians, you are to move away from those countries that will not join the kingdom. Do not have anything to do with them. They are wicked and unclean, and if you don't, you will be swept away with them because of their sins for not obeying God. Don't tell me I've gone too far and that the world is holy enough, because if you think that, then God will separate you away from us. Don't question why I have been set above all lords, assembly. God has chose me to come near him, to belong to him. God has chosen me to be the Holy One. Those that think the world is already holy do not have the Lord with any of them, and he will not be with them. You think I've gone too far? It is you who want to separate from God's will that have gone too far. Priests, I want you to come out in support of me. It will be against the Lord if you try to band together against me. We are at the entrance of the tent of the meeting. Those that are with me are on one side, and those in opposition are on the other side. Let the glory of the Lord appear, and the one that is wrong and in sin, let God's anger come upon him or them and sweep them away. God, the God of the spirits of all mankind, come near in judgment and put an end to all the wicked. You must realize that the decision you make affects your whole family. This is tomorrow the day for all to appear before God for judgment. Everyone is to take their censer, their heart, and fill it with fire and prayer. Then God will choose the hearts that are filled with the fire from his altar. They contain the prayer of saints. The ones that have fire from the altar of the world and prayers that are not for his will, he will reject. I am a man after God's own heart, because my censer, my heart burns with fire from his altar, and it contains the prayers of all saints for his kingdom to come and his will to be done. If you want to rise up against me, come with the best you have and the most well-known leaders you can find, and come against me as a group. So when I send the fire of God's anger on them, it destroys them and all the communities of the world. I want you to form a council of well-known community leaders from around the world to oppose me. Only a heart with Jesus in it can rid you of your sins and turn God's wrath from you. You can either receive the fire of God's judgment, his wrath and anger, or the fire of his mercy, his love, and Jesus. I am the only one that stands between life and death. I am the one who can stop God's plague from killing you. A plague stops for you when you return to God and his laws and enter the kingdom. A lot of people will spiritually die before this plague stops. The plague has already started, and I am in the midst of God's people to stop it. If you're an enemy of God, you now know what death from 1,000 cuts feels like. because this book is my sword against you. It's a sad, sad day when you're willing to protect those that caused the Waco fiasco, just so it doesn't cripple your Satan-spawned democracy. When you tolerate that kind of behavior, it shows how conned you really are.